Did you hear that the Los Angeles Archdiocese agreed to pay victims $880 million today in a settlement? I'm sure the vast majority of you guys didn't hear anything about that because, apparently that doesn't seem to make the news. The fact that this church is supposed to be leading people to God and leading people to heaven has had to have a settlement today of $880 million. I'm going to play a little bit of the clip here. Let you know a little something. See, this is what happens. The vast majority of the people that were the victims of this church and these priests weren't our people. Those are going to be the vassals. The vassals are the ones who made a covenant with the Church of Satan here, right? And you've given your children to the churches before, just like when they were forced to go, they'd forced the Native American children to go to these schools and they were ripped away from their families. They did that willingly, okay, because that was all part of the agreement. The agreement that you weren't going to be enslaved like us means pretty much that your children are theirs. And as you can see, how are you going to get upset about Diddy? How are you going to get upset about, R. Kelly, when that's one person who may have been doing whatever they were doing? I'm not condoning whatever they're doing, but there's all this rage from all these people about the things they're doing. But their priests are here raping little boys, little girls, and none of them are going to jail. None of them are paying for any of their crimes. All they do is get moved from this place to this place. No, so you vassals, I guess, don't go to the police officers and you don't go to the police and try to charge these people with crimes. You just stay silent. That shows that you have made a covenant with these people and that you know that your children are not yours. Your children belong to the churches, and therefore they can do whatever they want. And you will not go to the police. You will not go to authorities. You will not, try to charge these people anything. You will not make any accusations against them. You allow them just to move these priests from one place to another so they can do these things to other people's kids, other vassals' kids. So this just proves the fact that you have made a covenant with this church and that you don't even control or own your children. Your churches do. Check this out. And what's crazy is that they talk about, well, how are we going to come up with all this money? They have their reserves and they're going to move some of their holdings around to be able to come up with this kind of money. But then they're always crying poor about how you guys need to give them money. See, on top of the fact that you allow these priests of yours to rape your children, they actually use your money that you give them to pay, these settlements back. So it's like you guys are just totally culpable because you're allowing this to happen and you're not saying a word. Where are all the people that are out in the streets that are like, wanting, justice? Where are all the people that are wanting justice for their children? They say nothing. So if you're not going to say anything about this, then you're in no position to say anything about what other people are doing also, because you're complicit with this. Check out the video.
Chauncey, Susie, good evening to both of you as well. The Archdiocese, by the way, we should mention, has previously paid hundreds of millions of dollars to victims in various settlements. So this latest settlement now puts the total payout at more than $1.5 billion. That is an incredibly high number, but one that attorneys for the victims and representatives for the Archdiocese say is only a small part of the healing process. A massive multi-million-dollar settlement in a significant and decades-long legal battle. Announced today by the Archdiocese of Los Angeles and the Plaintiffs' Liaison Committee, $880 million has agreed to be paid to settle more than 1,300 childhood sexual abuse claims filed against local Catholic priests.
1,300 cases. But we're going to just talk about Diddy, and we're just going to talk about R. Kelly. 1,300 cases of what these priests were doing to little children. And there's no outrage, there's nothing. Like I told you, this is because you guys are vassals to the church. That's it. Let's listen to some more.
This is the largest single child sex abuse settlement with a Catholic archdiocese, according to attorneys representing the victims.
It's a phenomenal number to get to, but to be honest, there's no number that will make these kids whole.
It's a sentiment shared by Dr. Heather Banis, the Victims Assistance Ministry Coordinator for the Archdiocese of Los Angeles.
I'm heartened by that, even as I'm heartbroken to think of all the pain and all the harm that was done.
The claims were filed under California Assembly Bill 218. Passed in 2019, it significantly expanded the rights of survivors of childhood sexual abuse to seek justice through civil lawsuits. That includes opening a 3-year window for previously time-barred claims.
If you're a survivor who is 60 or 70 years old and you were abused in the 1970s or 80s by a clergy member, before this bill exists, you could do nothing about it.
The latest settlement was approved by Archbishop Jose H. Gomez, who said in a letter released today that the funds for this will come from reserves, Archdiocese investments, loans, and other assets. The Archbishop also wrote, quote, "I am sorry for every one of these incidents from the bottom of my heart. My hope is that this settlement will provide some measure of healing for what these men and women have suffered."
Trauma is not something you get over, it's something you get through. And so this marks an important milestone in the healing journey for 1,353 people, hopefully.
For the Archdiocese, that means remaining present now and in the future for anyone who needs help.
We want to walk with you. We want to help you heal. We want to understand what your needs are. We hope that the settlement fills a piece of that.
And payments from the settlement are expected to be made in 2025 and 2026. In the meantime, in that letter we previously mentioned, the Archbishop promised, and we want to make sure we cite it correctly here, that the Church will remain vigilant to make sure that no one serving in the ministry will harm a minor ever again. Reporting in downtown LA this evening, I'm Gio Insignares.
So we're going to pretty much investigate ourselves and find ourselves not guilty some more? Is that what we're going to make sure this doesn't happen anymore? Then this is what your church has always been about. Your church has always been about doing these kinds of things and just, pretty much sweeping it under the rug. And now you got to a point where you have an $880 billion, $1 million settlement. That's not going to change anything because this is your blessing. This is what you are allowed to do. Now take a look. This is why none of these people actually come against you. Because from this book right here, Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico, your blessing was right here. The church simultaneously defended the natural liberty of the Indians and justified the institution of slavery. So they put us at the bottom, and what they did to you, they've done way worse to us for hundreds of years. And they're not even, this is stuff that's happening in the 70s until now. What do you think is going to happen now? The Most High is going to make you pay for what's happened for the last, since 1502 until now, from 1492 until now. See, you're not even discussing what you've done to the so-called Negroes, which is the so-called black people. This is only what you've done to your own vassals. And it says the indigenous peoples of colonized territories were vassals of the Spanish crown who needed to be brought into the Christian fold and protected in the natural liberty. Now, I like how they're protecting you. Look how they've been protecting your children. They've been really doing a great job of protecting you natives and you the Chinos and the Indians and everything else and everyone else other than Negro. They've done a really good job, right? Doing whatever they wanted to do with your children, and you have not even said a word. You've allowed it to happen. And you haven't, went to the authorities, no nothing, because you don't have those rights, apparently, right? So vassals of the Spanish crown who needed to be brought into the Christian fold and protected in their natural liberty. Slaves were foreigners. Chino slaves blurred that distinction because they endeavored to become Indians, right? And gain full membership in the church as free men and women. And you got to go in there, but you had no rights whatsoever. So they can do whatever they wanted to you and the children. You were second-class citizens. We're even lower than that. We're not even human, apparently, according to your churches, right? So right there, it was critical, in other words, for Chino slaves to be seen as native instead of foreigners, to be able to claim that they cannot legally be enslaved. By the end of the 17th century, the church assented to the Chinos' self-identification and incorporated Chinos into an institutional framework as Indians, and that's exactly what they did. So you got, like I said, it's the colonizers up top, you vassals in the middle, and the so-called Negroes at the bottom who had absolutely no rights whatsoever. So they had free reign over our children, over our people, because we weren't even people. So that's what they did to us. And they've been doing the same things to your children. And then you, as you can tell, you don't have any rights either. And neither did your kids. But see, at least now they're trying to make it right by, coming up with these settlements. But these settlements mean nothing because the Most High says, look at Numbers 35 and 33. This is how the Most High is going to cleanse the land. And he's not going to be taking your worthless money for how you're going to have to atone for your sins. Much love, family. Shalom.